May God's grace and wisdom guide you through this day, and may you find strength in every challenge you face. Amen. Before we dive into today's incredible story, I want you to show your support. Type "I'm here with Mr. Newell" in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Your engagement means everything to me as I bring you these powerful stories. Now, let's begin. The Ritz-Carlton's Crystal Ballroom had never looked more magnificent, but Dr. Elena Vasquez felt like she was walking through a minefield. The annual Children's Cancer Research Gala drew Manhattan's elite, and tonight she was supposed to be celebrating the foundation's biggest donation in history, $10 million that would change everything. She never expected to see Judge Margaret Blackwood's daughter, Victoria, gliding toward her with a champagne flute and murder in her eyes. Well, Victoria's voice dripped honey and venom. If it isn't Dr. Elena Vasquez, the miracle worker who saved so many children's lives. Elena's blood ran cold. Something in Victoria's tone suggested this wasn't a congratulation. "Victoria, lovely to see you," cut the act, Maria Santos. The name hit Elena like a physical blow. Around them, conversations continued, but Elena felt as if the entire ballroom had gone silent. That name belonged to her past, a past she'd buried so deep she'd almost convinced herself it never existed. "I'm sorry, I think you have me confused with someone else," Elena managed, but her voice sounded hollow even to her own ears. "The public execution." Victoria smiled, the kind of smile that preceded destruction. 5 years ago, Maria Santos was a bookkeeper for the Riverside Community Health Center. She embezzled $2 million from a charity meant to provide medical care for underprivileged children. Elena's champagne glass trembled in her hand. The guests around them were starting to notice, phones discreetly emerging from evening bags. Maria Santos disappeared the same week the FBI raided the health center, Victoria continued, her voice carrying further now. She left behind dozens of sick children without funding for their treatments. Some of them died, Dr. Vasquez. Or should I say, Maria? The accusation echoed through the ballroom like a gunshot. Elena felt 300 pairs of eyes turn toward her, some curious, others already filling with disgust. Dr. James Morrison, the hospital director who'd nominated Elena for the humanitarian award that very evening, stepped back from her as if she'd become toxic. "Elena," he whispered, "tell me this isn't true." But Elena couldn't speak. Because it was true, partially. The whole truth was far more complicated, but who would believe her now? The unexpected defender. "That's quite an accusation, Miss Blackwood." The voice belonged to Senator David Chen's son, Alexander, a federal prosecutor who'd been quietly observing from the side of the ballroom. Elena had met him only once, briefly, during a hospital board meeting 6 months ago. Alexander stepped forward, his presence commanding immediate attention. "I assume you have evidence to support such serious claims?" Victoria's confidence wavered slightly. "I have documentation that you're willing to present in a court of law." "Under oath?" Alexander's voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to cross-examining witnesses. "Because what you're describing sounds very much like slander." Elena stared at Alexander in shock. Why was he defending her? He barely knew her. "Alexander, dear," came the sharp voice of Margaret Whitfield, the Gala's chairwoman and Victoria's godmother. "Perhaps it's best if Dr. Vasquez steps outside while we sort this matter out." But Alexander's gaze had shifted to Margaret, and something cold flickered in his expression. "Interesting timing, Mrs. Whitfield. This accusation coming right after Dr. Vasquez exposed the accounting irregularities in your foundation's books last month. The web unravels." Elena watched as Margaret's face went pale. The accounting irregularities Alexander mentioned were real. Elena had discovered them during a routine audit and reported them to the board. Margaret had dismissed them as clerical errors. "What are you suggesting?" Margaret's voice had lost its commanding tone. I'm suggesting that sometimes people get blamed for crimes they're trying to expose, Alexander replied calmly. And sometimes the real criminals hide behind charity work and family names. Victoria stepped forward, desperation creeping into her voice. You don't understand, Maria Santos stole money meant for dying children. Dar. Elena Vasquez, Alexander said, his voice carrying across the now silent ballroom, formerly Maria Santos, did discover the embezzlement scheme at Riverside Community Health Center. But she didn't steal the money, she tried to trace where it was going. The truth emerges. Elena found her voice at last, knowing there was no point in hiding anymore. Maria Santos was my birth name, she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. I was the bookkeeper at Riverside, and I discovered that someone was siphoning money from the children's medical fund. When I tried to investigate, I found that the trail led to board members, people with connections, people with power. The ballroom was completely silent now. I collected evidence for 3 months. Bank records, forged signatures, shell companies. But before I could turn it over to the FBI, someone tried to kill me. My apartment was burglarized, my car was tampered with. So I disappeared with the evidence, hoping to surface when it was safe. Alexander nodded. The evidence Maria collected helped the FBI uncover a network of charity fraud that extended far beyond Riverside. Recovery of stolen funds led to treatments for over 500 children nationwide. Margaret's desperate gambit. Margaret Whitfield stepped forward, her face twisted with fury. This is all very touching, but it doesn't change the fact that she lived under a false identity. That she deceived everyone, including this hospital. The same way you've been deceiving this foundation's donors? Alexander's voice cut through her words like a blade. Elena discovered your scheme too, didn't she? That's why tonight happened. You needed to destroy her credibility before she could expose you. Elena realized with stunning clarity that Alexander was right. Her discovery of the Foundation's irregularities had triggered tonight's attack. Elena, Dr. Morrison stepped forward, his voice uncertain. Is this true? All of it? Elena looked around the ballroom. At the faces watching her, judging her, waiting for her response. Everything Alexander said is true. I did steal an identity to stay alive. I did deceive people about my past. But I never stole money from children. I spent 5 years trying to give it back to them. The choice. Victoria, realizing her plan had backfired spectacularly, made one last desperate attempt. Even if that's true, she's still a fraud. She's been lying to everyone for years. Alexander turned to Elena, and she saw something unexpected in his eyes, not pity, not calculation, but respect. The choice is yours, Dr. Vasquez. You can walk away from all of this, disappear again. Or you can stay and fight for the truth. Elena looked around the ballroom one more time. At Dr. Morrison, who despite everything still looked conflicted rather than condemning. At the guests who'd gone from judgment to curiosity. At Margaret Whitfield, whose empire was crumbling in real time. I'm done running, she said simply. Maria Santos was a frightened girl trying to do the right thing. Elena Vasquez is a woman who saves children's lives. Both of them are me, and I'm not ashamed of either. Justice and redemption. 6 months later, Margaret Whitfield and 3 board members were convicted of embezzling over $15 million from various children's charities. Victoria Blackwood received community service for her role in the conspiracy. Dr. Elena Vasquez testified at their trial, no longer hiding behind a false identity. Her real story, the full truth, made national headlines, leading to reforms in charity oversight and whistleblower protection. Alexander Chen left the prosecutor's office to join Elena's new foundation, the Santos Vasquez Institute for Medical Ethics. Their work exposing healthcare fraud has recovered over $50 million for patient care. And Elena? She kept both names. Dr. Elena Vasquez Santos, the woman who learned that sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is stop hiding from who you really are. The girl who once ran from the truth became the woman who made sure others never had to. Remember, the truth may be painful, but living in lies is far more dangerous. Sometimes the greatest act of courage is simply being yourself. Thank you for joining Mr. Newell today. Don't forget to subscribe and share this story with someone who needs to hear it.